another Dragon Ball Super card game video. This one's going to be a kind of a discussion video yet again. The one before this, I talked about different archetypes and how they've gotten, forgotten basically within the last couple years. Couple years is the whole game, so the last few sets, if anything. And this one is going to be talking about what is the worst color and why is that. And I don't think this should be really there's two different things. One, this is really focusing on color exclusives, maybe even leaders as well. It's not to say that there's one bad color, as in if you play that color you're always gonna lose. It's more of like, what is the strongest and what is the least strong, right? The other part of it is that I'm not going to talk about any of the multicolored cards, since that should be a different video. If you guys want to see that, definitely let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you are new. Over half of you aren't subscribed. I don't know what unknown is, but over half of you aren't, and even 90% of you who are don't have the little notification button. Please let me know. Help me out. Subscribe if you're new, and as well as hit that notification. And of course, join the Discord. Check out the articles that we just put up as well. This is the first thing. What makes a color good in the first place? I think there's a good amount of things that go into what makes a color good. These are not the end all be all, of course, as I always say. This is not the final list, and this is not the only reasons why they're good, but these are kind of major things of why it would be good. The first thing is exclusivity. So if let's say the one drop Broly that just came out, in which of course all of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, it has nothing as far as set 9 comes for that. Not everything has been revealed since the time of this recording, so it's really everything before that, including the expansions. For example, the one drop Broly over here, and as well as the cooler, which now we have the yellow, or the red yellow exclusive to red leaders battering. Those are all very exclusive, and a huge reason why you would play a certain card. Same thing with hidden potential at the bottom right. Even though it's a multicolored card, it is just something to consider because it is leader or color exclusive. The second part of it is the power level of the exclusive cards. So even if we had your leader card is only blue, or if your leader card is blue versus if your leader card is green, let's say we're comparing Dimension Magic versus Shocking Death Ball within a format, the power level of Dimension Magic when it first came out is a little bit better, if not much better, than Shocking Death Ball. If you're going to be talking about untapping one energy, which is technically 2, versus destroying a 2 cost or KOing a 2 cost, there's a pretty big difference as far as that goes. So when you're picking a color, the power level is as in what does it do for you and how does it compare to other ones, which is the third point, really matters. And the other part of it is generic options. So when we're talking about colors as a whole, which I'll go into in a little bit when we take a look at every single color, which color really gives you the most bang out of your buck, right? I don't really talk about black too much, but I will, even though that is probably going to be winning as far as the most generic option, since most silver bullets are going to be in that. But when we're talking about just colors in general, as in red, yellow, green, blue, which one is the strongest if you just flash it, right? And then of course answers within a given format. A lot of the pricing, and as well as the decks, as well as top 16 for any card game, just depends on the format, especially this one. If something looks to have either support which will affect the format, as in if baby is very prevalent and we have a lot of different cards released, or a lot of different cards within a color that answer to baby and has a really good matchup to that, then people are going to be playing that over another color. If you have any other options or I guess factors, let me know in the comments below. All right, let's get into all of the colors, and I will say a couple of things. Yes, these are not all going to be all the exclusives. These are not all going to be all the splashables. These are not all going to be all of the archetypes, but I will touch on all the ones that we've seen within the last few formats, and as well as a couple of ones that we might not even talk about anymore. And of course, these are all within a vacuum, again, with no set 9. When we look at the exclusives for red, I think, again, within a vacuum, and as well as just overall, I think red is actually probably the strongest color, next to probably black, if you just look at the color itself. It just has a lot of stuff going for it. All of the exclusives have really strong effects where Broly can see their hand Vegeta can wipe a board and boost your leader, even though now both of them can be susceptible to counterplays. Familiar Bonds is still pretty goddamn strong, and Saiyan is probably going to be one of the strongest, if not most popular tag or trait or character trait at the bottom right that you see over here, and literally every other card that I have on here within the game. So Familiar Bonds is only going to get stronger and stronger every set. After Image, is that all you got? Beerus Ball, Denial of Hope, all of these really prevent the opponent to actually do something. Like, for you to do something, and as well as just to keep a board, both of those things are very much of mine when it comes to red. Like, you're not going to do this, I'm going to make sure that you're not going to do this, and as well as just not let you keep a board because of all of the minusing. And then we have Almighty Resistance, which again is a multicolor, but it is the new battering for 2. And then we have Son Goku, the Nimbus Voyager, which now in Yamcha, and as well as a couple other leaders I'm sure you can play it in, is kind of spot removal for anything in rest mode. I think in general red sort of lacks that spot removal, and when we look at leaders within the format, I think the previous formats, I think just overall in the history of the game, for leaders, we've had Pan, we've had Beta Vegeta, we had Son Goku and Vegeta, all within the format, and now Beerus is going to be one of those ones that you have to look out for within the current format. Bulma has potential. Now the new Red Frieza again with the set 9 stuff, and even the cooler now is going to be within the format. All of these things are very, very close to each other for red, and just another reason to play it. Then we have the Splashables, with Topo being one of the most popular ones and one of the strongest cards that can literally end a turn or just make you neg really, really hard. Digging Deep is pretty universal, since we have a couple other ones within like other colors, but Digging Deep, because of Familiar Bonds, is super strong. You can kind of splash Digging Deep in general and just have a dual attacker for 20k. And then we have Unbreakable, which you kind of already know is just draw. Obviously Chompin as well as Isekai is another splashable card for red. And then Videl was one of the first counterplays outside of Master Roshi that actually had a splashable body negate, basically, or battle card negate. And then now we have Beerus No Holds Barred, which is more on the yellow side, I guess, for yellow leaders, but I just wanted to include that within the archetype for Beerus, that is Red Beerus, the leader. And then we have Bulma with Videl, which now, if you haven't noticed, this can get back the 1-drop Broly and a lot of other targets, so I would definitely watch out for this card, especially in Bulma. And then we have Triple Flash, which has kind of run amok beforehand, Pre-Errata, Mecha Frieza, Super Saiyan 3, etc. It is still a very strong card, and of course the baby line, and as well as Whis for Red Baby. I think the archetypes in itself have been relevant throughout the entire game for red, and I don't think that's going anywhere. Overall, again, probably the strongest color in vacuum. When we talk about splashable and just a good color to have within your deck is blue. Blue historically is probably the strongest color, but because of erratas and because of the bans and because of the direction the game was going for blue, it's sort of lost its identity, as well as lost its strong cards, and now is more of a splashable color, is now more of a, I don't know, it doesn't really have too many exclusives that you really think of. I really couldn't find that many. Like, if I'm missing something, definitely let me know, but honestly I wasn't able to find that many. And we do have, you know, the absolute release ball that every color has. We do have Dimension Magic with it, like I said, is super strong. You're Wide Open and Spirit Sword is kind of underwhelming. We still have Vegito, which just dies to Denial and a couple other counterplays, and then Path to Infinite that goes into UI Goku and a couple other things. I think right now mixing blue with a multicolor or just splashing it into a deck is more beneficial for you, but not so much of just playing mono blue. I think when the game was slower and the game didn't have that many like things to interact with, blue was a lot better. And of course, you know, Huracan Storm, Super Saiyan 3 Storm, Mono Blue Super Saiyan 3, right? All those things were pretty damn strong and pretty degenerate. But blue has kind of evolved from that, and now it's kind of a supporting color and a little bit better when it comes to being fair, I guess. I didn't include Whis. Whis is another splashable in this, but we do have Bean, which is probably one of the most splashable cards that you can ever have. We do have Ultra Instinct Goku, a huge reason why blue has a boost for that. It's not leader specific, it is not blue specific, etc. Desperate Measure is just very strong. Mabula is very strong as well. Hitting Awakening Talent Pan is really good for these new arrival decks as well, and as just Awakening. Gohan is like okay, but he's there. And then we have the archetypes, which Gogeta has never really been played in a mono blue deck other than, well, I would say a blue leader deck that is mono blue. It's more of been splashed with other leaders and as well as just decks in general. Then we have Hoi, which Hurugan did have its time. I think it's still a strong leader, but TN and as well as just having other leaders available to you, it's just better. Here we have Veku and as well as the Gogeta, which is okay, but again dies to counter plays like Denial. Same thing for Pan, same thing for Janemba. Even though Janemba in itself, when we look at leaders, has been really relevant since the beginning of its release, basically. I don't think that's going anywhere. I think blue again is better in a color mixed with something else. And then we have yellow. So when we look at yellow exclusives, man, how many times has yellow leader, like other than yellow Broly, like how many times there's always been one really relevant and like you have to watch out for this leader that is a yellow leader within any given set in any given format. Like there's never been yeah, I really can't think of when it wasn't. Maybe when Pan was running amok, but that's, yeah, even then, like you still had to think about a lot of different leaders. I mean, there's like Mecha Frieza, there's now Baby, there was Ginyu, there is now Yellow Broly. The list kind of goes on. Even Nationals was one with Yellow Broly, even though it wasn't a mono yellow deck. It's still, you know, you have to think about that. And when we look at exclusives, because you're playing a yellow leader, you have access to Cooler, you have access to Time Magic, of course the Apes, now Super Galacanian Restrain, a couple other ones that aren't very strong within just the yellow archetype, or I guess just yellow exclusive. But when it comes to the splashables like Planet Vegeta, Champa, Mutaito, the Great Ape Goku, Pan, Flying Nimbus, all of these are really strong in its own ways and can be played in really any other deck. And I think that's what makes yellow strong as well. And then we have the archetypes from Yellow Baby to Cold Bloodlust. Just having Cold Bloodlust at 1 is still very strong, even though at 4 at the time was extremely strong. And then we have Path to Greatness, which now isn't played that very much and has been neutered all over the place. And then we have Apes, which isn't being played as well. And then now we have Golden Frieza, which, you know, is still within the format, is still playable, and I'm very glad about that. Overall, yellow has been always historically strong. I think, again, in a vacuum like mono yellow, I don't think it can fend by itself, or at least compete, but it still has a lot of good options to splash and just overall very strong. And then we have green, which I personally believe, unless, you know, Set 9 changes this, I personally believe is actually the worst color. I think the leaders are getting a little bit better. I think Bandai historically has not been very kind to green leaders. Like when you really look at the list of green leaders and just kind of look at the relevancy, I guess, like Kaioken Goku was a really well designed leader, but is not within the format, and it has its own faults because of counterplays. And then we have Dr. Euro, again, really well designed leader, but has his faults because of all the minusing from red. And now we have Piccolo, but he's a surge Piccolo, he's a surge leader, so that doesn't really count as just being just a green leader. Clash Q is incredibly strong, but no one's really playing it for some reason. Maybe it's too slow, maybe it's just not their forte, maybe other things do what Clash Q wants to do better, right? And they have Super 17 back in last year's Nats is great. The draft box Goku 17 and 18 is really good. Raditz was kind of a mistake. Should have never designed them that way, but oh well. I'm not a card designer. And then we look at any other green leader is just not great. You know, the exclusives have been good. You know, Shocking Death Ball has been great. Preemptive, even though it hasn't been played as much as Denial when it was released, is really good. Hidden Potential is very much of a power crept preemptive strike, even though you have to play a multicolor now. Focus Breakthrough allows all of the bigger boys like Victory Strike, Ultimate Broly, etc. be played pretty safely against any of these counterplays. Defending Father Paragus, again, Green Broly was amazing, right? But you know, it's not relevant anymore. And when it came out, it has some relevance. It did a lot of work, and it is still very strong. But if it runs into a really bad matchup, it just gets shut down. And I think, again, in a vacuum, that shouldn't be a thing for a very strong color. But Paragus is probably one of the strongest boosts that green has ever gotten. And for the greater good is like, okay, hidden, no one really plays this, no one really plays this. This one dies from counter plays, right? The splashables like the Fusamasu engine is great when it works, not that great for really anything else. Vegeta the Cruel, very strong card, is probably going to be played in any multicolor deck, but again, you have to play multicolors. And then we have Cell, which is just like the Goku. You draw a card, is very splashable. Piccolo is very relevant. I think he's going to lose a little bit of relevancy in set 9, but if you stick one or two of them, he is incredibly strong. The Gohan is very splashable for any deck that needs self-awakening very quickly. Very underrated card here. And then we have all of the archetypes, which I know Victor Strike is not so much of a green archetype, but it is green, so I wanted to include that in there. 17-18 with the 18 defender is incredibly strong, but it's exclusive to that, and it's like average, right? It's kind of like average, right? It's kind of above average if you add good cards, which I guess if you add blue, shout out to Devin, then you will do well. But if you are mono green, currently I don't think you'll do just as good. And then we have Krillin. It just kind of dies to anything that minuses it because it doesn't have any barrier, right? The Broly Secret is incredibly strong and can end games like turn 3 if it needed to, but it's very expensive. That's the only thing I can really say about it. And then this really just boosted the old green Broly leader, which is great, but is it relevant? I don't know. I don't think so. Overall, green is kind of disappointing. It is probably my favorite color. Just like if I had to pick a color and what I want to do, like I love hand destruction. I love just burning their hand down, right? I love removal, and as well as just being a troll. But unfortunately, green kind of falls short with a lot of those things because of the answers within the format, or at least its weaknesses. And then finally, black, which it doesn't really have too many exclusives that are that great. I think Aid or Aid, like all of the extra cards are pretty strong within a given archetype, but not amazing, right? Like Aid or Aid is okay, you know, in Kid Q, but people mostly opt out of that. And if you're not playing Kid Q, that is not really relevant. Toki Toki City, it doesn't really see that much play because by the time you do get that effect, the game is over. Power Burst is extremely strong because of all of the answerable cards that we're going to talk about in a second. These guys are answered by counterplays, but it's really great. It's just that the setup sort of sucks. And then Gravy is great if you want to loop like the Great Ape Gokus, like the Hachiyak deck profile I talked about before, and that's really about it. And then now we have the exclusives for like Shenron as well as Skillless, which again, both of these are like falling out of the format for some reason, even though Shenron sort of creeps its way in and probably will in the future. Like I'm pretty sure it's still going to be incredibly good when people start building for Shenron again, regardless of world peace. I think it's going to be great. And then we have the splashables, which overall in general is probably the most splashable thing outside of blue that you can do within the game. Basically, there are a lot of restrictions from like the field card for Android 21. There's restrictions for, you know, like other things that you shouldn't be playing that because you need sparking or something. But otherwise, you can splash Overwhelm for pretty much everything. And then we have all these other splashable cards from Haru Haru that untaps for, from Dark Power Mass Saiyan that answers a lot of free play cards, which again for this new like Jiren leader, by the way, and as well as like other cards, you should really consider that Dark Power Mass Saiyan really hurts that. And then Kami for anybody who needs some board clear, Dende for anybody who needs that anti-ramp. You know, the list really goes on. Like there's so many answerable cards in Silver Bullets and Black, it's really hard to say that it's not splashable. And then we have the archetypes with Shenron, like I said, falling out. Hachiyak, that is really the only relevant black leader right now, even though Kid Q is amazing. It's just sort of like, it's kind of like too mid-range, it's too slow, right? It doesn't do anything that's that degenerate, it's too fair. And same thing for like Towa. Towa was very strong within the format that it reigned on, and now it's gone. You know, it's kind of sad. And then Vegeta, the reinforcements that get out this guy is another archetype that, you know, is kind of forgotten. Again, overall, black is very splashable. It has a lot of answer cards and silver bullets. Exclusives are okay. The archetypes are okay right now. There's only one relevant one. And out of everything here, like when we look at all of the colors, there's always going to be one relevant leader within every format, I think, that is that color. You know, like red is Beerus right now, maybe Janemba, I don't know. It's really hard to say what relevant blue leader there is other than a multicolored leader like Piccolo or something. Yeah, I really can't say. I really can't say there is one. But we do have yellow, which is Yellow Baby, as well as Yellow Broly, and we have green, which is never mind, and then we have black, which is Hachiak. So we're gonna see what what we'll see in the future. Overall, I would like to see what you guys think as far as your overall thoughts and what is the worst color. I think the best color right now is red. I think the worst color right now is green. The most splashable color is blue or black. And I'm very excited to see where the game takes us, and what colors do what in the future. Subscribe if you're new, please, and I will see you in the next one. Later.